What's up, guys? We are here today talking about my newest addition to the guitar family, my Strandberg Boden Prog 6. Really have been wanting this one for a couple of years now and super excited to finally have my hands on it. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about first some things that I really like about the guitar, then a couple of gripes that I have, and then lastly we'll do some tone tests so you guys can hear it. So as a quick preface, I did get this guitar used off of Reverb. It is very, very lightly used, basically no wear and tear, no damage. The seller told me they actually had 3 of these models. The only reason they needed to get rid of it is because you probably don't need 3 of the same guitar, but maybe you do. Okay, so let's kick off the list of the things that I really, really like about this guitar. So first off, probably the most common thing that you hear from people is just how comfortable this guitar is to hold and play. And that really is the first thing that you notice. It is extremely lightweight. It feels great to hold. The way that they've cut the body makes it so you can pretty much seat it in any way that you like, and it's going to be super comfortable. It almost feels like a toy, but in a good way, where you can just kind of like hold it with one hand. It's so light and easy to carry around that it just doesn't feel like your typical guitar at all. If you like playing standing up, not having the headstock up there swinging around from left to right when you're walking around with your guitar is great. You don't feel as worried about like running into a doorway or something like that. So yeah, it's just really wonderful for picking up and playing. The body itself on the front and back has a different feel than a lot of high gloss guitars. You'll get some like added friction with your fingers on a high gloss guitar, but with this, the finish is just nice and smooth, just feels really good to the touch, and again, just super comfortable to hold. So another thing that I really like about this guitar in terms of playability is the Endura neck. So for those of you who don't know, Strandberg has a really unique neck profile where there's a flat area that kind of shifts from the top to the bottom as you work your way up the neck. And what that does is it makes it so as you're playing, your thumb position on the back of the neck actually has a very comfortable flat place to sit. So it's super ergonomic and feels very natural. I will say you don't really notice it too actively while you're playing, but I do think that you get some benefit from it. Next up, I do like guitars that have fanned frets. The fretwork on this guitar is pretty excellent. I also find that the fanning of the frets is not super extreme. It's very comfortable, so I think if you're new to fanned frets, this won't throw you off too much. And again, the playability of the guitar on the whole is really solid. So another thing that I really like about the guitar is actually the location of the cable. When you plug it into the guitar, if you sit with a classical position, the cable's coming out right here, so it's not really getting in your way as much as a lot of other guitars might. Again, just they really thought about the ergonomics of this, and it really shows. Another thing that's not really a pro or a con, but I just found interesting, just the placement of where you attach the strap on the guitar is really interesting. And again, just kind of an example of Strandberg kind of doing whatever they can to push the boundaries of what a typical guitar design should look like. And last but certainly not least, the guitar just sounds great. We'll do some tone tests at the end of the video, but in general, just really playable and really wide range of tones. You can do a lot with this guitar, and I cannot wait to put it on some new songs. All right, moving on to a couple of small gripes that I have with the guitar. I would say that the tuning mechanism is a little bit finicky with the floating bridge that you have here. I'm sure that it's a lot better when you have a fixed bridge Strandberg, but with the floating bridge, while you're adjusting from left to right, it's very hard not to put a little bit of pressure up or down on the floating trim. So a lot of times while you're twisting the tuning mechanism to tune the guitar up, you accidentally place a little bit of pressure on the tremolo system, which of course alters your tuning in that moment. So when you release it, sometimes the tuning will have shifted a little bit. So there's a little bit of back and forth where you sometimes have to adjust the string multiple times to get that perfect tuning. I will say though that once the tuning has been set, I have found that the tuning is pretty solid and doesn't really require a lot of retuning while I'm playing. Next up on the gripes is restringing is going to be a little bit more difficult with this guitar. You're going to have to unlock the locks up here in order to restring, which is obviously a little bit more effort than a standard headstock guitar. I will say it is definitely nowhere near as bad as a Ibanez floating bridge can be, but yeah, definitely a little bit more work, but not a huge deal either. Next up, I would say the whammy bar does not go up as high as I would like. It does have a good range going lower, but you can't really get too much range going upward. Obviously, this is something that you can address somewhat by adjusting the spring tension on the back, but I would say in general, you're probably not going to be able to maintain a very low action and still get a lot of upwards range. This isn't a big deal for me though, and in general, I do really like this whammy bar. Then last up in the gripes, because of the super weird, super wonderful ergonomic shape of this guitar, it's very hard to find a place for it. I can't really put it in a guitar rack. I can't really put it on a guitar stand safely, and you definitely cannot put it on one of those wall hangers either. So yeah, it's a little bit hard to find a place for this. Right now I'm just leaving it in the soft shell till I find a better solution for that, but I may end up just building a stand for it or something. By the way, if you like this, maybe subscribe. All right, let's jump into some tone tests. All right, guys, just wrapping up here. Overall, I love this guitar. I think it sounds great. I think it plays great. The main areas I see myself using this guitar are as a very common everyday pickup and play. Again, it's just so comfortable, so playable that I definitely see myself picking this up more than probably most of my other guitars just because it is so comfortable to play. Additionally, from the recording side of things, I see myself recording some solos on this as well as a lot of tapping parts and background textures. My Blue Keys will probably remain the primary lead guitar on most of my recording for the time being, but definitely excited to put this one to the test. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. If you have some questions, please feel free to leave them down below in the comments and I'll try to address those. And if you haven't subscribed already, consider doing that. All right, guys, peace.